Hello, everyone.
What's up, y'all?
Well. I'm excited.
Yeah, dude, me too. I'm stoked. I'm just chilling, dude.
This is it. So, welcome to the first episode of Stop, Talk, and Roll, which is fun.
Yeah. Do we call them episodes? Do we call them chaotic
episodes? Strange things? Yeah, I guess.
Well, I guess we'll figure out whatever that is, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we had said we always wanted to do a podcast, so I guess.
Yo, you're right. I never actually thought about that. But we did want to do a podcast, and I guess this is our version of it. Which is super.
I guess so.
Hell yeah. Also, yo, Mason, the Mason Potato, thank you for subscribing. You're so great, dude. I appreciate you so much, brother. You did not have to do that, but I really do appreciate it.
Uh-oh.
Also, you're our first subscriber ever.
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh my god, yeah. Well, thanks for that.
Wow.
You're our first subscriber ever, man. Congrats. I feel like I should have some fanfare or something. I feel like I should drive out to your house and mail you a gift or something like that. That's actually crazy. Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, Mason is one of our amazing mods here, and is also one of my very good friends. So, yeah, jeez, man, you're insane.
There we go.
And when you have that first badge, you get the actual first badge. It's not just a bunch of people who subscribed. That you're literally the first.
Okay, there we go.
Welcome on board, dude.
Oh, it's skipping a little bit on my end, but that's fine.
Ooh.
I guess the most important is just what's going on with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What's up, dude?
A little bit before jumping into the questions and just to hang out and just chill, or
dude,
do you want
to let's chat
jump
together.
right in?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right.
Whatever you want to.
How have things been for you? I mean, this has been a crazy time for everybody. Really.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Are you talking about the past year, or are you talking about recent weeks?
The past year, but also recent weeks. Yeah. Overall, the past year has been insane. Unprecedented worldwide, but also just the past couple of weeks, things have started to change even, and things have been different. So how have the world of Daniel Kim been?
The world, the world of Daniel Kim is going really excellently. We're currently planning an amusement park ride that's going straight through the beginnings of development right now. So it's just going.
Oh, that's great.
That's
really great.
No. No, things are going really well, actually. There's stuff that I can't talk about. There's some stuff that I can't talk about, but that is really cool. But
that's fun.
Which is always fun. But in general, life has honestly been pretty okay, as any creator to do, any creator / artist out there. You are always constantly sleep deprived and running on 2 bowls of ramen and a coffee, but but in general, I've been feeling pretty full. Have a lot of relationships in my life that are giving me just a lot of fulfillment and keeping me happy and I'm afloat, apart from my day job and everything that goes on there. And then creatively, things have been freaking amazing, dude. We are doing this, we're doing this game that was only for us, and for some reason, people will tune in every week to watch it. That's crazy. It's amazing,
It is. It's insane. But
I have someone's grandfather.
It's awesome that you're able to do that.
Yeah, I know. We have someone's grandfather who's popping into the stream and loves our content, and we love him because it's incredible that we have a grandfather who's watching our show and likes it.
Wow.
So shout out to Maka's grandfather. We love you very much here. We talk about you all the time.
That's really cool.
We are so excited that you're here in our community. But yeah, dude, outside of that stuff and outside of a cool kind of work things, life's pretty okay, man. Life's pretty okay.
Yeah. Talking about it could sometimes get a little weird, but with, the COVID vaccine and everything getting out, things are getting safer.
That is true. And, I just got my first dose of the vaccine on Easter. So
which is awesome. My second round is next Monday.
Yo,
so
we love to hear it. We love to hear it.
Okay,
what's the
what's
the first thing that you're gonna do when you get the vaccine? Like, who's the first person you're gonna see?
Oh my God!
If the answer's not me, you don't. Well,
see, even after the vaccine, though, you gotta wait a few weeks until it's like really safe. You know what I mean? You gotta give it, make sure that it has enough time to settle in.
That is true. This is very true.
Yeah, you gotta listen to the experts.
Gotcha.
And then I don't know, because I mean, I have these plans for like meeting up in person with my friends from school, because we're all trying to act together online, and it's weird that we've never met in person.
Yes. I know some of the people that you're talking about from the digital space world.
And from the digital world.
Thinking about it, I have actually never seen any of them in person. So I don't know.
Right, I know, and it's kind of strange. And we've talked about trying to meet up in person for a while.
Yeah.
And it'd be great to actually do that. But holy shit, I just miss hanging out with my friends in the same room, in the same space. You know what I mean?
Honestly, same. Honestly, mad same.
And I mean, by the time you get your second dose as well, who knows? We could be doing this in person.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is a strange and a crazy thought, but like that could totally be a thing. That
I have to drive all of just an incredible amount of time of 10 minutes.
An incredible distance to get to.
It is an option. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It is. Hello, Nico. Thank you for dropping by.
Nico's in the hello.
Yes.
How's it going?
We are. This is welcome to Stop, Talk, and Roll.
Woo!
So. First of all, for my viewers who might not know exactly what this is, Stop, Drop, and Roll is a group of friends turned party members turned found family that play Dungeons and Dragons every Saturday.
You almost got the tagline. You almost got it.
Almost?
10 to 1.
Okay, I was close.
Yeah, it was good.
10 to 1. Pacific.
Should I give you the spiel? Should I do it?
Please, Dungeon Master.
Welcome back to
take
the Rep and Roll. We're a group of friends who found family who love ourselves some Dungeons and Dragons. All right, there you go.
There it is. There it is. But incredible game, incredible chemistry that everyone in this cast has. I love being able to catch when I can. I do work a lot during it, but I have been able to catch a lot of the VODs. I mean, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. It's something that I love, something that you love. I was roped into it by some friends that I went to high school with that then told me about Critical Role, and that's really what got me excited and inspired to play the game myself. And I know that you've had somewhat of a similar path, a little bit different than that, but I mean, this game has definitely helped both of us through the crazy thing we were just talking about of this past experience this year.
Yeah.
So first of all, just tell me a little bit about how this all came to be, like in the days of yore, before quarantine and before isolation.
Yes. When I was working with William Shakespeare in the Globe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So how does one start what you have started here?
That's so loaded. That's such a loaded. I mean, first of all, I mean, we're honestly, we're just friends hanging out and playing our home game, just with other people watching, which is crazy. And that's really it. I don't know if we've started anything. It's just kind of been a natural extension of what we were passionate about and what we loved about the game, and just wanting to think it was a game that maybe deserved people's eyes, and that I think would give people something if we chose to show people the story. I thought it would be something that people would enjoy, would be able to let them escape. So that was kind of how that came about. But way back, how this game began. I was fresh out of college, had just booked one of my first theater jobs at a Shakespeare company. Funny enough, I was talking about Billy Shakes. At a Shakespeare company.
Billy Shakes.
Yeah, and I was doing a double ticket of the whole, the summer stock. I was doing Death of a Salesman and I was doing Antony and Cleopatra. And my friends at Antony and Cleopatra, I had a couple nerds there, and we would talk a little bit about like, you know, D&D games we've done in the past. And I had no D&D game I was doing. I was like out of a D&D game for like 6 months. I was starving for one.
Wow.
I was like, please, like give me the coke, give me the cocaine. I need it in my body. I was really needed to play D&D. I was like getting like shakes at night. I would wake up in the cold sweat and go D&D. And so, maybe not that dramatic, but like, no, but I was really wanting to play. I was really wanting to play, and I was so sick of it that I was like, you know what? Like, if no one else is gonna do it, I'll friggin' make my own campaign. So I drew up a map, I got some things together, and I just went around to my cast members, some of whom I didn't even know like would want to do this. And I just went to anybody in that poor, like, desperate Oliver Twist way where I was, like, begging with coins like an orphan. I was
please,
like,
can I have some players?
Would you like to play some D&D with me, sir? Would you spare a coin or two? Would you like to roll initiative? I'll buy you dice. All right, you know, and I was going around to my friends.
Legitimately, you know, a tray of dice.
Yeah, exactly.
Going around.
Exactly. And I went around and I asked people, and like, luckily enough, there was a couple people who were like, yeah, that sounds amazing. I would love to do it. And even more who were like, I've never played D&D before, but I would love to try it. So we all got together in the middle of like tech week in our theater company, right? We're like have like a freaking week until opening, and we're gathered around the green room table with a bunch of these kids and adults all like getting into costume and like walking around the space, and I have my speaker in my computer and my notes like shivering in a cold sweat as I like introduce them, like, you are this group of adventurers. Welcome to Zaman, a continent, and you know, and I was doing the whole thing. And
yeah,
it like, I'm gonna be real, I knew we had something pretty special from the first one, but like, and then I'll have some stories of when I realized that things were really kicking into gear for this campaign. But it was pretty special because while we were starting, eventually a lot of the people stopped getting into costume and doing makeup, but we gathered around the table to listen to us play.
To watch. Wow.
Yeah, so we had like
awesome.
a live audience from day one. It didn't continue. It eventually became a home game, but we had people like oohing and awing and clapping and stuff while we played.
That's crazy.
For our first session. Well, it was crazy. Yeah, it was insane.
A bit of a question to sort of go off that in the same vein of that is, do you think that everyone's experience as, and you know, from the birthplace of being in a theater, of being actors, how do you think that impacted the flow of the game, the creation of the characters, the relationships that were built between these characters? Do you think that having that background as artists in the theater world had an impact on that?
I mean, of course. Like, I think if there's no way that it wouldn't eventually impact it. The funny thing, actually, to me, is that we didn't go in pretend like with like fully fleshed out characters with full backstories the way that you would prepare a character for like the theater or for film. It was really interesting, actually. Like, it was mostly just a bunch of people going like, I have this cool idea, or I just want to play. And so we even though we're all artists and all of us were professional actors, like a lot of us came at it not from that lens early on. It was just kind of like, oh, we're just playing week to week. This is a fun thing. But it changed. That actually all changed once we hit our first major story arc in the campaign, and then all of a sudden my players were coming up to me and asking like, how do I make my character's backstory deeper? Like, where do I, like, I want to do more of this, and like, this is like a real story that I'm invested in, and like, and you can track it now. Like, if you look now at the things that we're doing in the game, like, roleplay makes up maybe like 80% of what we do. I don't know if I don't intentionally plan it that way, but like, and it wasn't always that way. Before, we'd have combat every session because everyone just wanted to roll dice and hit stuff, which is awesome. And there's no shame in playing D&D that way. That's freaking amazing. I love taking loot and taking names. But like, as they were just kind of like developed, and now all of a sudden, like, everyone understood that this was like a long form improv, like dramatic improv, like story that we're crafting together in this world. Which is amazing and a testament to like how crazy talented my players are. who I lovingly call castmates and also some of my best friends. They're so freaking talented, dude. Like this, this all came from like small stupid ideas that I had, and they turned it into this like epic fantasy adventure.
Yeah, totally.
They are to blame
with
for everything great.
Well, and with that as well, I mean, so you are what's called a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons,
Indeed.
or a game master, depending on something else that you're if you're playing like another RPG tabletop game. So as the game master, as the dungeon master, it is your job to transport these players into a new world, sometimes a world of your creation, sometimes a world that has been pre-written or pre-generated. So this world that we watch on Stop, Drop, and Roll was your brainchild. Now,
indeed.
Similar to what we were talking about with the role play with these actors and how it evolved and grew as time went on, is the same true for the world and for ideas that maybe you had at the beginning that didn't pan out and just changed once it actually like started going? Or did you have these ideas that then grew and grew or did your players inspire certain things? Talk me through how this world was born and how it's evolved.
Okay, that's a really great.
This game is continued.
That's a really great question. That's amazing. This is why I hire you. This is why you're my friend, Jared.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so the world. I literally had a week to prepare. Because I was like, I came up to people with the idea like, hey, do you want to play D&D? And they're like, yeah, when we start. I was like, next week. And they're like, awesome. And I went back home and I went, I have to build a world in a week. And so I like scrambled and I like had many like sleepless nights just freaking like just typing at my computer like what kind of game do I want to make? What kind of like world is this? And so I threw like every idea that I had at the wall. And naturally, from it growing out of that, the world has grown and developed as we've been in it. But unlike some other places, instead of growing wide, like it's grown in depth. Meaning that like my players, like I initially had this like, continent in mind with these 3 major countries, but as soon as they like started diving into the countries, I went more and more granular. I was like, here's a city. I was like, here's a place to like fight, and now here's a city, and now here's like a town that's connected to that city, and now here's like an agricultural district that like makes like food for that city. Here's like a local economy. Here's like how that's being ravaged by like drug problems. How like here's this side thing that's getting like invaded by demons, And so like things just started getting deeper and deeper and tying into each other. But what I think has remained really cohesive about it is I set the tone for the game with my players really early on. We wanted to create this very heavy mystery intrigue-based campaign with a lot of role play, and where it felt like my players had like that the consequences of their actions were felt either immediately within themselves or in larger, like either their communities or their societies, or as they level up, maybe even across the whole country, right? So that's kind of been the spirit of the game, and I hope I've delivered on that. You honestly have to ask my players to see if I have.
Well, and we will get a chance to speak with the rest of your castmates. As you said.
But yeah, to like just kind of finish it up. Yeah, I think the world is continuing to still evolve. I'm still getting ideas of like what's where, what's doing this thing. I have like loose ideas of what's everywhere, but as they go or what interests them, I create the railroad ahead of them. And it's like it's kind of like television writing, honestly. It's like what's the episodes that came before? What are the arcs that they're going on? What would be an interesting scenario to put them into? So there's a lot of that kind of there's like it's like half and half. It's some of it's built and a lot of it has room to be flexible and to change and to adapt to like whatever suits my players' enjoyment the best, really.
And with that in mind, how often has like a role play moment inspired a real like a historic moment within the world, or inspired even a city or a culture within the world that as you go?
Great question. Yes, huge moment in the campaign was when Poe died. This was about 4 or 5 months before the stream started. We had just gotten one of our newest players, Kyle, on board on the stream. And he's awesome. He's fantastic, intensely smart player. If you've seen him play Artie, like he's so smart and just a great like glue agent for like everybody else's characters. But yeah, they were doing a train heist. They were doing this train heist in the steampunk city of Sola, which was like they spent a good portion of the game there. And as they were like trying to start this heist on this train, things went south, and as they're like in combat with this automaton, he casts a fireball on himself and like killed Poe. And Poe had been they had like heard of little minor things here and there, but I didn't know what they were gonna do. I was like, maybe they're gonna revivify him. Maybe he's just gonna come back to life. Standard stuff. But then his sister in the game, who's played by Zach, Emran, who's played by Zach, very brilliantly went and reached out to the Demon Prince Grost, who they didn't know was a Demon Prince. They just knew that he was a demon and that he was working with some person in the city. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to change the entire trajectory of where that character was going and how everyone is going to interact with him. And it clearly has. Like, if you look at him now, he's still dealing with the consequences of that action, or of his friend's actions, that he's undead. He's not living. He does not have a beating heart. And he's also, like, inextricably tied to this, well, not inextricably, he's like fundamentally tied to this being who has like real control over his life and death. So it's like, what a crazy swing, but it also made for just an incredible story moment. So that's one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
We can get into a couple more. I see a question in the chat, dude, from the Mason Potato.
I do as well. I actually wanted to continue with just the origin of this before we went to the chat question. But if you want to answer that now, we could absolutely get into that.
Or we can bookmark it to later, dude. Up to you, man. Up to you, brother.
That's all right. So so that was about, you said 4 or 5 months before the stream started.
4 or 5 months, yeah.
So that was in the middle of the pandemic and going online. So
yes, it was.
How has and then we'll get into the exact question of the chat. But first of all, I just want to hear your perspective on how has the game in general. I mean, not just like this specific, but Dungeons and Dragons, the way that you're playing it. How has that changed from meeting in person and, when you could and everything, and then now being online through Discord or Roll20 or Tabletop Generator, as some people use.
Right.
How has this online format, this digital format, affected the way that you approach the game or play the game, whether as a player or a DM?
Yeah. I think if you ask multiple different DMs, all of their answers will be different. Like,
absolutely.
Like we have a game that we do together, right? And like the pandemic certainly affected that game differently for you and for your players, like, because I've talked with them. And like I came into the campaign during the pandemic, right? But for me and my players, funnily enough, the game became more immersive and more regular as a result of the pandemic, which is crazy. Like what had previously been essentially just a hobby for fun, we would meet maybe once a month, once every 2 weeks if we were really lucky, because we're all actors and we're all professionals and we had a lot of work that we were doing.
Busy and working,
right? Exactly. So there's no way for us to do like a weekly regular game. It was like once a month, and we'd spend like 6 hours-ish like playing Dungeons and Dragons. And it was awesome. It was super fun. But as soon as the pandemic hit, that all changed, and all of a sudden, like, all of us were like desperate for any sort of community, any sort of regularity, any sort of routine, and then also for friendships and for community. And then as storytellers, because so much of the storytelling engines that make up our jobs went down, right? Hollywood went down, and Broadway was closed, and a bunch of like small theaters across the country had to close. We were out of work and out of storytelling and creative opportunities. And so like in a strange way, Dungeons and Dragons became our safe haven to tell stories every week together. At least that's how I feel. Like, I'm sure probably, I don't know if my players would say that. Maybe they're like, I don't know, I just wanted to have fucking fun. But but for me, like, it was like this insanely like needed outlet for me to create a story with my friends and escape from the world and like try and make messages about something that matters. And
Yeah.
and have it affect my players and gift them with experiences that they would enjoy and remember and like and cherish as they go on. And like that, from that came like some of the deepest role play that my players and I have had, which is really, really cool. And as you can tell, like since then, like we've gotten all so invested that we've decided to turn it into something that's watchable for other people here on Twitch. So
you know, I think that leads into the question in the chat from Kathy GMAC, my mom.
Kathy, hello, Kathy.
The question is that through the pandemic, I believe that you just answered this. You definitely got deeper into the game because of that, and while maybe not, you had more time to be creative, but it almost became a necessity to sort of double down on that creativity and on that sort of creation and storytelling aspect of this game that Dungeons and Dragons, and in particular 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, sort of lends itself to.
Yeah, I'm assuming the question is just like what it's like to like creatively use it as an outlet during the pandemic.
The exact question was, would you have been as deep into the game if it hadn't been for the pandemic, or do you think or do you feel like it gave you more time to be creative?
Oh, that's interesting. Both, Kathy. Both fed into each other. Yeah. I'd say that in a fun way, I had to be more creative more regularly, because now we're switching from a month-long game to a week-long game, right? So where I'd have 4 weeks to prepare 6 hours worth of material, I now had 1 week to prepare 3 hours worth of material, right? So like my productivity for this thing freaking doubled, as did my efficiency, luckily enough. But
that's good.
you get used to like using certain tools and stuff and certain shortcuts and whatever. But both. This has sparked like a ton of creativity for me, and I'm really grateful for it, because I would have felt so much like angst about like not having anything to put that into if I didn't have this game. Honestly, I would have felt like, I don't know, probably way less healthy than I do now if I didn't have this game to just eject my creative energy, what I was thinking throughout the week, what things I wanted to give to my friends. Like, I think that's that. But that all being said, like this is never the creative vision of D&D is never determined just by the DM. It's always a conglomeration and a marriage and a partnership between what the players bring to the table and are interested in telling, and then the DM like resonating off of that. So in a fun way, in a lot of creative projects, often you have to expend so much energy just doing your part as one cog in like this greater storytelling machine. But for us, like, I constantly get to hear this back and forth feedback with my players. I send them something or a situation, and then they build off of it and send it back to me, and all of a sudden, like, there's this dynamic building that happens between us that, like, you don't get that in anything other than like other long form dramatic improv, and you certainly don't get it to like the depth every week that you do of D&D. It's honestly probably one of the best storytelling avenues like in the world, I think.
Totally. And I changing somewhat, but still talking now about this.
Kathy, thank you for the question. We love you.
Yes, thank you for the question. This digital format. Sort of doubling down on that. So in person, right? We are face to face with one another. We embody these characters
face to face with one another.
Face to face. But we're still very much in our own bodies, and sometimes have voices, sometimes not.
Okay.
But the DM is going to be 5 different monsters and some NPCs.
Right.
And these players are going to be playing different species than themselves sometimes.
I want to be clear. We're still talking about Dungeons and Dragons, right? We're not talking about getting high and astral projecting. Okay,
no,
cool.
Exactly.
Good.
So Discord, Roll20, both of them have camera functions, as we can see right now that we're both utilizing. I'm sure that others have noticed, and that was something that I noticed as well, that you don't utilize those functions. Now, we've had similar conversations of this in the past, but what have you noticed in terms of, because you said it became a more immersive, more sort of doubling down on the storytelling and role-playing aspect of this game once you moved online. And I know that you talked a little bit about the decision to not use cameras. talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, that was, funnily enough, not my decision. We came to that as a group. I actually asked everybody, I was like, how do you guys feel about doing cameras online? And they were like, no. Daniel, no. We will not use cameras, Daniel. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Just wanted to suggest it. It was a multi-part decision, one of which was like a storytelling one, and one which was like a practical. I'll start with the practical because that's less fun. The practical was that our players are spread out all across the country. I'm in California. Many of my friends are on the East Coast, and we all play together on Saturdays. With being so far away comes connection problems. So, kind of naturally, sorry, excuse me, I'm drinking whiskey. But like, you know, we'd have connection problems, and then like, you know, people would drop out, and you know, wouldn't be able to hear them for a while. And so adding a camera on top of that was like sometimes too taxing for people's internet. So
absolutely.
And you've seen there have been a couple occasional like technical problems on the show too because of that. Which have been, you know, I think that's part of the charm of like knowing that it's live and that it's not perfect.
Well, yeah, it's live, it's online.
Yeah.
Literally everyone in the world is using all the bandwidth all the time now. Because everyone is working from home, everyone's using it.
Exactly.
So I mean, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we chose to do it for that reason because we're like it's just really hard to like keep dropping in and out of calls and having to resync. Thankfully, it's gotten a lot smoother now that we've all like kind of invested in stuff. But there's still occasional hiccups. That's just how the internet goes. That she's a fickle mistress.
And it is the quantity and quality of what doing live shows is like.
Yeah, and then I saw Sweet Nectar's freaking thing in the chat. I hate you, Andrew. I love you very much. I also hate you. He plays Joko on the show. He's great. Yes. But the other reason that my players actually all came to a consensus about was they were like, it's more immersive, which is crazy. Like most people, like when you play D&D and you don't have a camera, like that seems like a nightmare. You're like, I'm gonna be on my phone and I'm going to play Animal Crossing in the background because I can't pay attention because it's way too like taxing and like I can't my brain can't function for that long. But my players are insane and have like both the best attention span in the world and also for some reason like what I'm doing. I don't know why. And they like I've like never had a problem with someone going like, okay, wait, what is happening? Where are we? What is going on? That never happens. Yeah. Which is like as a DM, if anyone has ever DM'd before, that's fucking crazy.
Feels fantastic.
Yeah, it feels amazing. Like I've honestly taken it for granted how good these players are because they will just always know exactly what's going on. And I'm like, that's and we don't use cameras. And I think for them, like part of the reason was like because I am like limited in my physical form. If they saw my face making weird faces and to like, voice an old hag who's going to, put a curse on them, like they'd be like, but that's Daniel.
That's
Daniel's a good actor, but he's not that good. He can't change his face, And so
exactly.
I was a little insulted that they didn't want to see my face, but I allowed it. So I allowed them to keep their cameras
they would just be too distracted, just staring at your beautiful image.
They would just say, Baba Yaga is so much more beautiful than in comparison to you, Daniel. I feel like you're just breaking the immersion for me. Fuck you. Have a nice day. And so that's how that's how
understandable. Have a nice day.
Decision.
No, but I mean, and similar to voiceover as well. Sometimes you gotta do some weird stuff to achieve some good voices.
Oh, buddy, dude.
And you could place yourself in weird places in the room, make some very weird faces, do what you got to do to get that voice out. To make the effect you want.
Get it out. Yeah.
And having people that are trying to have a serious roleplay moment or like are actually feeling nervous for their character in a combat situation, and they look over at the DM going like, "I'm gonna get you." Like that's just might be a little immersion breaking.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the goal is immersion, right, then I think that the choice that we're making is a pretty decent one. For me, what I do miss is being able to like look over at my friends and give them like a side eye glance and the little side talk stuff. But that's all stuff that also kind of vanished once we hit digital space. So I do lament that a little bit, which is why we as a group conscientiously try to make time for us to hang out outside of game and not play Dungeons and Dragons. We'll play video games or we'll hang out or we'll play Animal Crossing a lot of times. And it's for our health, so that we get to be with each other as people, as well as like the story that we built. Yeah. I had something that I wanted to say, but then I totally forgot. Oh, I do want to say, this is a little fun thing.
Okay.
A little fun thing was like when you were talking about voiceover voices, like one of the weirdest looking ones I've ever done was definitely the tree in the council. I don't know if you remember. It was from I think Feywild is the episode. But
yeah.
It was the tree oak, and I was standing here like kind of barreling my chest and going, whoa, and I would like shake my head back and forth. I would shake my jaw to like get that sound. You know?
What is it, like the King Boss
Nass? I look like Boss Nass from Phantom Menace. Yeah, that's exactly it. I looked exactly like Boss Nass, dude. It was so funny. Anyway,
absolutely. I mean, there are some gold clips from when we used to run our game in person as well. Of when I had to do old people voices too, where it's up high and crackly, and your face just naturally does stuff.
Hello there, yes, hello.
You get crazy eyes.
Exactly.
So it is kind of funny and somewhat immersion breaking, but I think that it's a double-edged sword, because like you said, you miss that like genuine human interaction that you get of seeing like the looks on their faces when you drop a hint on something, and you can see the gears turning, or their surprise or their shock, or or just genuinely like having those moments of like, that was fun, I enjoyed that, just with a look,
Yeah. Can I tell a funny story about this?
Please.
Okay. So we had, like if you drop like a big story revelation, right? Like you expect a response. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, I've been building this thing up for a long time. I hope my players really like it, or I hope like my audience really likes it, right? And people react in different ways, right? There's me who will go, oh my god, holy shit!
Oh, I know that. I know that for a fact.
Right? I will give you vocal response, but a lot of my players don't give a vocal response. They'll just like sit like grasping the edge of their desk, just going, oh, and they will be silent, just going, so I'd set up this like huge reveal that like their oldest friend and mentor was the big bad. For those guys who've heard briefly in the campaign, before the show, there's this character named Alucard, and he used to be one of our players' best friends. He was their troop master, where they get the moniker the Grim Troop. He was the troop master, and then they find out that he's the big bad evil guy, and I like drop the bomb, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm so excited. They're gonna like jump into a fight now, and they're gonna talk with them, and there's just silence. There's just nothing going on the other side of the mic, and I'm like, oh, did they not hear me? Oh, did my Discord cut out? Oh shit! Like what is going on? And I'm over here panicking because I'm like, oh no, my big reveal. I don't know if it landed or not. But they're just like being silent, which is, and I couldn't hear it. So kind of really funny in that way. But
absolutely. And with the online stuff too, it's like, just communicating becomes an issue, like we were talking about with the connection issues and all that. But with the internet delay, you don't know when someone starts talking until you both are halfway through a sentence. And then you're like, oh, okay, no, you go, no, you wait, okay, just go. Dude. And so many of those instances have been happening.
Can I be real with you? My play, I can't gas my players up enough. Like seriously, like they are so good at making space for each other. Like if you almost never hear them talking over each other.
Absolutely.
If you like listen, like you almost if anyone's talking over them, it's me, because I have a problem. And I'm like, oh crap, they're talking, crap. I wanted to put in a little joke here. I'm sorry. But my players are so good at creating space for each other. Like we actually, like in order to like do that, we actually created some house rules for ourselves. That are essentially improv rules. They're essentially improv rules, which is like make the other person look good, like give space, like take the spotlight when it's yours, and then give it away when it's someone else's, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's also just like you said, from your background as actors, as something that you're taught to do as a respectful and a professional actor.
Right. But I mean, even then, it's not. You can't take that for granted, A lot of actors are terrible at that.
Oh yeah.
I'm naming myself here. because we like to hear ourselves talk, you know. But my players are just insane, in that they're just so good and practiced at this stuff that they do make space for each other, and they're not concerned with whether or not they will, like, oh, will I get to have fun this game? Will my character get to shine this game, right? Which is something that goes through the minds of players and stuff. But my players, like, trust each other and me to, like, get those moments when they will need it, and to have that for themselves. And that other people will also respect that space. If anything, it happens a little too much where everyone's like, here, you shine a little more, and they're like, no, you do it. So they're great, man. It's insane.
Hey, that sounds like a good problem to have.
It is a phenomenal problem to have. It is a phenomenal problem to have.
Well, that's great.
Andrew, I hope that answered your question about how hot and how good my players are.
Oh, that's great. Was that
I'm never gonna say it again, Andrew. I'm never gonna say it again.
So you mentioned that you have these sort of interim, just hang out, play some games, chill with each other. How has that just sort of helped you stay connected through this very isolating time? With D&D, like that's fantastic, and it's a great way to meet up, but you're also being other people for however long you are in that call and however long you're actually playing the game. But I mean, with these sort of these breaks where you just get to hang out, shoot the shit, play some games with each other, be yourselves and not be these characters, and feel like, oh, there's a story that we're telling here. No, we're just hanging out, having fun. I'm sure that must feel great to have that as well, on top of all of that. Because while it's rewarding and it's great to sort of get those creative juices flowing and to tell these stories with one another, and how cathartic and rewarding that is, just getting to spend time with just the people and each other, I'm sure, is just as fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, like I treasure both times because, oh my God, thank you, Sweet Nectar, for subscribing. I really appreciate you. And that's the last thing nice thing I'll say about you, Andrew. Get out of here. No, also for our second subscriber. Holy crap.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, what was the question again? It was about, playing games in the middle of the week. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I mean, I would say that I actually started offering that, or I suggested it because I was missing that. I was, because playing the game is amazing, right? And the story we're telling is amazing and super fun to do every week by week, even when I take missteps and stuff. And I love you, Andrew. And as we're kind of like doing it, like it was really nice to be able to remind myself that all right, I'm not on. I don't have to make the game for them. I don't have to, go out of my way to, to keep giving. I can just be myself in this time. So it was really necessary for me. It became even more necessary once we started streaming because, we're on camera, right? So there's an element of we are the game is for ourselves, and that's a constant creative vision direction thing that we do is this is for us, and if people love watching it, then that's amazing, but that's not what we're out for. We're here to keep enjoying this game that we've created and enjoying these friendships. But there's the natural actor thing is when you're on, right? So there's a bit of a little more energy that I bring to things in general. So to be able to take that time and just, chill out and be myself and not feel like I have to put on anything, or not that I do, but to feel like I have space to just, be boring and not interesting and, miss 90% of my shots in Apex Legends. That's really nice to, and not have any judgment on that. So, so I think it's super necessary. It's the same thing as if you know your friends through work, they really aren't your friends unless you're dedicating outside time to get to know them outside of that one singular context, right? So 99% of my shots. Sorry, thank you for the correction. So yeah, but it's really nice to to do that. It's gone to the point though where sometimes I'll detox after a long day and be like, hey boys, you wanna play some games, and I'll go, crap, I have to build the game this weekend, and I
totally
end up doing that. So
well, and that leads me into my next question that I had for you is what is, without spoiling anything, but what is your general process for sort of creating this these story beats and these segments of world that we get to see every week?
Yeah.
How do you go about that?
I think about D&D building very similar to like TV show writing. And I think if anyone, I honestly think that's why so many former D&D players have become like really successful showrunners, right? Like we can name anybody, right? Some of them I don't think I can name because they're under professional scrutiny now. But you know, like the Stranger Things guys, like they were D&D nerds.
Oh yeah, and that's a huge inspiration to the way they write Stranger Things.
Exactly, right? And so, and D&D works similarly. So unlike a movie, right, which has like a tight 3-act structure, it has to be like 2 hours, like on average. Like you're going for a serialized, long, season by season, episode by episode thing, a la Supernatural, Walking Dead, blah 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 blah. List off whatever other long-going series you want to say, like shonen manga, whatever. And so for me, I take inspiration from those like long-running titles, and I will think of general beats, like what is this upcoming season's theme structure? What themes do I want to hit on? What specific things or characters am I excited about? What happened to everybody last season? And I'll track each of their individual arcs. And then once I've got that nailed down, I'm like, this is where each of them are at, what they learned last season. Where are they going now? And then I'll go, okay, so they went through that last season. They're grappling with these things. We should press into those things. Or if someone's getting really bummed out as a player and I want to see them, you know, I'll give them little gifts of levity and like space to like just play. And so like before the stream, we actually had really, really taxing several weeks of sessions because everything was like back to back to back. Like they went from a dungeon, like they went from like Dracula's castle straight into like the political center of like everything they were going through where their friends are about to get killed and executed. And so they're like, the emotional stakes were on every single week and they were so tired.
Yeah.
And to the point where they're like, Daniel, please, can we get a break? And so I conscientiously for the next season, I blocked out 2 sessions where they could just chill out. We could just chill out for 2 weeks in a row before they did anything else, and then gave them a side story to be able to like go on that's a little less lower stakes and is more personally driven, right? Like if you've caught on, like this seems to be like Fenn's story right now. Like this is like Fenn's portion of the story where things are getting unraveled about their backstory, about their family, and about their connection to the Feywild and a bunch of other things, right? So that's more personally driven, lower stakes, and allows for a lot of breathing room so that if the players wanted to get drunk at a tavern like they did last week and just hang out and go bald and all the crazy shenanigans that they did last week,
absolutely,
it allows for that, right? And I want them to have fun. It's a game, you know.
It's a game, exactly. At the end of the day, anyways, it's a game.
But to loop back to building, that's what I go. Like, what do I want to give them? What arcs make sense for the story? And then from there, I'll go, what characters are going to be the center points of like main characters that I think I'm going to be adding? What's the main villain of this arc? What's the like main like through line that I'm trying to go through? What am I trying to press into? And then I'll start to think about the granular, what combat scenarios am I thinking about in the future? Yeah. Like, is there a big boss that's going to happen? Is there...
And thematically, how do these encounters fit into the story that you want
with one another, right? I'll think about that from week to week usually, because you can't cleanly outline that. You have to leave so much room. There's no way, dude. It's like, because half of it is made up by the players. Like, I will try and insert things that I think that would benefit them and benefit the story. But I usually think about those week to week. But there's some big, like, pieces that I will think about, or things that are fun that'll just come off the top of my head. For example, like recently, the carp that turns into the dragon who gives them wise wisdom, right? Like that was an idea that I had like a couple months ago, but I was like kind of keeping it for something, and I wasn't quite sure where I wanted it to be until I found it, and I went, this is a perfect time for it. Like, it's fun, it's magical, it's wacky, it's based off of Chinese ancient mythology, like, and also it will like provide an opportunity for my players to like question, like, you know, are we a good family? Like, are we taking care of one of each other? And and also for me to nudge them, be like, hey, that's where I want you to go. Like, start being nice to each other, please. I want you guys to take care of each other and not be so mean. So things like that.
Yeah, and with that, with what you were just speaking to, with creating these things that you want to sort of nudge or sort of bring to the forefront of their minds and their thoughts. What characters have you brought into the fold, whether they be NPCs that were there for like half a second or full arc that have been around since the beginning, or season to season, as you had called it before? Which of those have, first of all, favorite NPC? Whether that be like favorite to play, favorite that your players have loved.
Oh, sorry.
And then NPCs that maybe might have a little bit of you in there that you're like, yeah, you know what, this is my Daniel Kim way to like help them.
Oh, okay.
While we're in game, so I can't. So I like, me as the DM can't go in there and do all this.
Yeah.
But this NPC could maybe nudge them in the right direction and might have a little bit of your own personality.
Okay.
So favorite NPC that you've created, and then maybe like your players and favorite NPCs, and then maybe an NPC that has a little bit of you.
A little bit of me. Okay. Gosh.
And who knows? It might all be the same NPC.
No, it isn't. These are all different, actually. And I actually don't have. Wait, I'll get to that. My favorite NPC. Oh God, that's really hard. It's really hard. Because I've made so many bad characters. I'm kidding. I honestly, I don't know which one's my favorite. My player's favorite. I actually don't know. Genuinely, I haven't asked them. I would assume maybe Snow. I think Snow might be some of their favorite. I know Snow is Becca's favorite. Becca plays Fen, and they love her, for good reason. I think she's adorable. Oh man, who's my? I guess Snow might be my favorite. That's hard. I really like a lot of the NPCs. I love a lot of them. I just love Snow because she's so innocent and wide-eyed and brings such a different perspective to the group and is not helpful. She's not. She's a burden. She's going to die. She's a child in a world that everything wants to kill them. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I want to be an adventurer. Seems like fun, doesn't it? And they're constantly having to watch out for her. But I love that. I love that she is like so innocent and brings this like wide-eyed fun perspective, and she's often like comedic relief, and I love that. I love just adding like a little bit of comedic relief in a situation, because hearing my friends laugh is half of why I do this, is like hearing my friends giggle and like have a good time.
Yeah absolutely.
So Snow might be my favorite NPC. My favorite NPC I've played is probably tied between Baba Yaga and Grost. Baba Yaga was really fun because I got to do a lot of research on folktales, and specifically Russian folktales regarding Baba Yaga. So it was like a culmination of a lot of love and work that I'd done that I thought was executed pretty well. And so I loved playing her. I loved like getting into her like gnarled, twisted headspace and doing rhyming couplets for like her lines and stuff. Like, it's a fun challenge for me, and it's like new and novel for my players. It's great. And then Grost is such an interesting character.
I mean, first of all, a demon prince.
Yes, but also he's different than the other demon princes.
Yes.
The demon princes of the Abyss are so carnal. Like, they represent like one like fundamental negative emotion, and they just run with that, right? Like, Yinogu is like hunger, and Demogorgon is like wrath, right? That's like what you think of. Like, they embody these primordial like negative aspects of us. Grost is lust, but also he was formerly a devil. So, and devils are way smarter. We love Posey in the background. We love you, doggy.
There's the dog.
And like, he was formerly a devil, like very crafty, used to have to trick people into making contracts. So he is unique in the Abyss, in that while the others are driven by these primal urges, like Grost thinks, man.
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, and not to say that the other demon princes aren't smart. They are, but like, you know,
just different
so
ways of getting what they want.
And Gross' introduction into the campaign was actually never supposed to happen. It was never supposed to happen. It was a throwaway thing where like one of these like Thieves Guild leaders was in this intimate warlock relationship with Gross. And it was just there. It was meant to be like a trapping, like let you guys know that like, hey, like demons exist, right? And that people interact with them. Sometimes for gain and sometimes for really not that. Most times really not that, right? There's always a cost. But then, you know, after they reached out to him and brought Poe back to life, like Gross became Poe's fiend patron. And that has been, oh man, my players know that I'm a sucker for dream sequences, so I've had a lot of fun ones with Poe, that's for sure. So yeah, so that's Gross has been fun. He's been fun to play. I just love his silky smooth bows. He's so fucking twisted. He's just so messed up, and I like. It's just so interesting to get into his head. You know what I mean? He's just so twisted. Yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely. I love it. And then I don't know what my players' favorite NPCs are. I don't. So I'll leave that to them when they come on the show.
Great. Absolutely. I'll ask that question.
And then last of all, to make it just super freaking quick, I don't have a DM insert NPC. I don't believe in them.
Okay.
I think that if I'm gonna give them a thing in the game, I want to either make them laugh, give them a quest line, or give them something to deal with, right? So Snow is a child that they have to deal with the fact that they are wanting to like be in the game. Okay, Sejong was a whole other story, and he no longer is. He's currently a villain, Andrew. Sejong had a lot of me in him.
That was the question.
Oh, that was. I thought you were talking about like insert DM NPC.
No. Okay, like an NPC that might have a little bit of your personality or a little bit of like who you are as a person in it.
Okay, yeah. Then I'd say multiple characters have different parts of me in them. I think the Great Sage, the dragon, has a little bit of me in him. The kind of the parts that like you know, want to see my friends like, you know, really take care of each other and love each other and cast vision for that kind of thing. I think that's in the Great Sage. Purposefully so. And then I had a character named Sejong, who was earlier in the campaign, like way earlier, like 6 months to a year ago. Oh my god. But he was a samurai and a boy who was exiled from his country. He was a prince and he was trying to take back his throne. And I had a little bit of myself in him, like a younger version of myself. Yeah, like just like a lot of the like insecurity and like living up to big expectations and just kind of the feeling that like, you know, everything that people are asking of me is like maybe far too much for me to handle, but I'm trying to do it the best I can anyways, and you know, in a major respect, and he's, you know, very distinctly like he's named after one of the great Korean kings, and he's distinctly very Korean, you know, even though Korea doesn't exist in my world. So I think that was definitely there. But I think if there was a character that had like the most of myself in it, it would actually be the city of Sola and the country of Koryo. It's based off of Korea, and I've lovingly like put a lot of the culture in there. That's incredible. That is like, because I don't know, I don't see a lot of DM games like really honestly tackle like a setting that is set in Asia without using it for trapping, for fun trapping, or for
absolutely. And I think, you know, that's a conversation that Wizards of the Coast themselves have begun to address finally. But you know, fantasy in general unfortunately has a lot of inherent racism and comes from that as well. But I think that with especially with D&D, it really hands the reins to those that are playing it and those that are telling these stories and crafting it to sort of address that and do what they believe their culture justice.
Sure. What I meant by that was most fantasy is just white. That's what I mean. And I'm not talking about like you know, I honestly think to tackle the concept and the themes of racism is not at all a taboo subject. I think it's inherent to fantasy and awesome.
It is
to see it between different races, right? I think the problem is the erasure of any other humans. Like when you look at a fantasy setting, like
all humans
there's
are
no
white
Asians,
Europeans.
There's no black people.
Exactly,
they're
and
all white.
of the creature races are used as stand-ins for the other races.
Yes,
and that's
a
the trapping
problem.
People fall into. Absolutely,
that's a problem, right? And so for me, like I really wanted to bring in a kingdom that was heavily based off of like industrial Japan and Korea. I thought it was I combined the two because Japan is generally more familiar of a visual setting because it has a very, very distinct visual aesthetic, and then Korea because that's like my culture. And so I really wanted to immerse people in that and to make it feel like it was a genuine thing, that it wasn't just like oh cool samurais and like, you know, like anime and, you know, Datebayo and all that stuff.
A real representation of what that world is, rather than just a surface level trope-y, which, you know, for specific, I guess, vibes or a specific type of game, you might want to lean into tropes all around if you are looking for like more of a
camp is fun, dude. If you
want
to do camp, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it's done, you know, well and respectfully, camp is a lot of fun, and you could do a lot of fun things with it. But I mean, especially with the tone of the game that you are playing, and I know that I myself enjoy as a player who plays D&D and who runs D&D as a dungeon master. Authenticity and the sort of like genuine cathartic storytelling is a little more appealing to me when playing games like this.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
go ahead.
It's like that also appeals to me, right? Is just the idea of like, you know, like some people want to play the game to kill stuff and get loot and not think about deeper concepts. That's fucking awesome. And there's zero wrong with that. That's legit awesome. I love that. Sometimes that's all I want to do too, dude, you know? But then, you know, I think as a DM, and thankfully my players resonate with this, like the best parts for me is like, you know, when a character has like a real revelation or an arc or something that makes you go, that's me, or I see myself in that, right? Or that you can relate to, or you begin to question things, right? That's always, you know, those are the stories that stick with me. Like I love the Avengers. It's amazing. I love watching those for fun. But that's not the movies that I think about when I go back and I reflect on like what's formed me as a person. I think about Good Will Hunting. You know, so stuff like that. So I've wanted to do, and of course I want to keep it fun, right? I don't want to keep diving into like, high stakes situation in which you have to question your morals and your character and blah 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 blah, right?
And there's never a right answer.
Exactly. That's exhausting. And you know, sometimes you should just be allowed to have fun. So I try to balance it.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, there's something also just inherently rewarding about and you know, the morally gray choices definitely have a place in this game and in storytelling, but there's also something so rewarding and cathartic about just a triumph over something that is very obviously good and very obviously bad.
Oh yeah.
And that classic struggle of dark and light, good and evil, right and wrong, you know. And that's something that I know about myself as a storyteller. I love to tell those stories of a very obvious, cut and dry, larger story of good and evil with then these smaller pieces of these, like, well, how do you want to get there? How do you want to try and triumph over this evil? Are you going to just do whatever it takes and the ends justify the means? Or are you going to try and keep this like straight moral compass throughout the whole way that you do this? Because there are multiple ways to try and solve problems, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I have some things that I'm definitely going for. We'll see if, like, at the end of the day, it's the story that the players want to tell. But there's some things that I'd like to see. We'll see if they happen or not. I know what is the end game of this campaign. I've known it from pretty early on, but it's just about when it's right to interject that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, like, it really is, like, are my players having fun? Are they having a good time week to week, escaping from their lives and embodying these characters in this world that they want to be in? Are they enjoying themselves?
Is it an enjoyable experience?
Totally, right. So even if the story I'm telling is like the most masterful, like, you know, like philosophical debate on good versus evil and like the nature of like racism and fantasy.
None of it matters.
Like none of it matters if they're not having fun. If that's not the game that they want to play, you know. And so for me, like I always come back to like, do my players seem to be enjoying it? Is there something they're struggling with? Is there something I could gift them? Is there something that makes no sense but that would still like make them smile? Like what? That's why there's a freaking bartender cat in my game. Does it make sense? No. Is it fun? Absolutely. He's adorable and I love him.
This is fantasy. It's a game.
Fantasy. It's a game.
There are dragons and there's magic and guess what? That's not real,
dude. So like, you know, yeah. So I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to like, you know, get too uppity with myself. There's things I'd love to see, right? But at the end of the day, if they're having fun, then hell yeah, we'll keep doing it. And if people are having fun watching us, amazing. You know, we're so glad to have you.
And with that, I mean, what have been. So I know from personal experience that a lot of what we do every week and when we do get to play, and I know that you as well, I mean, we talked about this, how these games become very real memories, you know, and very real experiences that we all have and enjoy together, that looking back, we don't think about it as sitting in front of our desk looking at a screen and like just talking. It really does feel like, oh, we went through these things together and we did this. What have been some of, you know, the most laugh out loud, stitch splitting moments? What have been some of the most like, wow, that was a heavy moment but like so rewarding to do moment? Like just some moments that like this was so much fun, it was a game, or another moment that like I felt so heroic or so awesome, my players felt awesome doing this, and I felt really proud as a DM to do this. And then what was a moment that like you could tell was like, wow, that felt like a genuinely like emotional thing that we all just experienced together?
Okay. Yeah, funny? Got no idea, dude. I'm not that funny. Neither are my players. So
no, not really at all. You guys aren't
have
funny
stuff.
It's really cut and dry.
Yeah, it's really dry, dude. Yeah. So I'll just go to skip straight to the dramatic one because you know we're not funny.
You're not funny at all.
Yeah, this isn't a stand-up show. Get out of here. We're my players always talk. Like there is one part of the campaign that my players always talk about. It also frustrates me that it's the only thing that they talk about, because I'm like, did nothing else I make matter to you? But they always talk about the Venera Arc. This was 2 weeks into our game. This was the first major arc after our initial 4 sessions. And it was like my players, multiple of them define it as like those who were in the campaign from the beginning define it as like the moment they knew that they were in this for the long haul. It was a arc in which Poe and Emran were traveling with the Grim Troop to their hometown of Venera, a winery, like vineyard, Mediterranean town that was being converted into a military outpost, like a Mediterranean-esque city. But there was a threat of a bombing there. So they went to go to the city to stop this bombing, right? And there's a bunch of questions, right? They had not seen their father in years. He was rather estranged and not a good parental figure in their life. There's a bunch of other things. They get there, they meet their dad and have to confront about having reconciliation with him. They uncover this deep intrigue in the city about this bombing gonna happen and who's leading who and what's going on and where do they go. And they follow these rabbit leads to like get to stop the bomb, and they're too late, and they watch as like this gigantic tower in the city like explodes and crushes civilians. And like and then, you know, as they like go on and chase the bad guys, they end up getting and finding like them taking them down and then being revealed of the big bad guy of the entire campaign. But my players cite the moment that like the tower collapsed as like that was the moment. Like that was the moment that I was like, this is D&D and I love this. And it's like a little frustrating that they only talk about that.
But I mean, also put yourselves in.
No. I understand. I say it in jest. I say it in jest.
Yeah.
I
understand as well.
Yeah. I mean, to them,
a
like
dungeon master's perspective, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that's like okay. I mean, yeah, the tower falling. I mean, we've done cooler things, but also like
right.
especially as a player, you come to these things and like this DM has like created this place for you to play in this awesome world, and then to see them destroy even a piece of it or like mess it up, and to do something that you didn't expect is like, oh shit, this isn't just like a fun like turn your brain off for a few hours, relaxing, having fun. Like these can have like a crazy impactful moments that you didn't originally expect to have while playing a game
with your friends on a game night where you have
rocks and weird voices.
Yeah, with like pizza stains on your fingers and freaking whiskey all over your mouth, right?
Exactly.
I understand it, right, for them, because that was the shift. It was for them. It's so impactful because they were expecting a game in which they could just turn off their brains and like not really care and like enjoy it and just receive it.
Totally. But it's like going back to childhood movies or games or like something that was like something shifted that was like, oh my god, this is cool, I love this, and you go back and you're like, I mean, it wasn't the best piece of fiction in the world. I mean, it's not the best book, it's not the best TV show, it's not the best game, but it just has that place in your heart that's like, this is what started it all. This is the thing that like made me fall in love.
Totally. So, I mean, I would say with that is what I am really proud of in that arc is actually my players, because at the end of that arc we had only done, there was combat every single session before that. Always, like I would always have combat in every single game, at least for a little bit, but for that weekend of the aftermath, after the tower collapsed, after they had gone and caught the bad guys, as they were rebuilding the city, I had them do a session and I had no combat scheduled, and I was afraid out of my mind. I was like, oh, are they gonna be bored? Are they gonna like, what are we gonna do? Like, but we started the game and they said what they wanted to do to help rebuild the city. They had the relationships they wanted to talk to, including Poe and Emran with their dad. And then they went to a tavern and I had like the song that I prepped to like sing like in the middle of it. And then they like jumped on board and said, we want to create a show. We want to do a theater show here. And so they started narrating their own theater show about like what they wanted to do. And they took the role play control of the session. And,
that's incredible.
And it was our first like 3-hour long role play
solely
session.
role play.
Role play. And from then on the game changed. The game hasn't been the since. The game tonally, I think, came out of the Venera Arc, and understandably, I really do understand why the players treasure it and love that memory so much. I hold it pretty near and dear to my heart too, but I'm always trying to one-up myself, so.
Of course, that's the curse of a creative.
I always want to,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty incredible, and I mean, so. Getting up like toward the end here, what sort of?
Ooh, yeah, we've been going for a little bit, huh?
We have. I mean, it felt like a blink of an eye, really. But what sort of sparked this idea to come onto Twitch with this amazing story, this game, and this creation that y'all have been personally doing for a while now? And what made y'all go, you know what? I think this could work as a show, as putting this out there for people to come in and watch, or not, but just like, let's give it a shot. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I can tell you, about 3 weeks into our campaign, as we were playing, one of my friends said, when are we turning this into a show? I went, what are you talking about? I was like, why would we ever do that? Like, no. You think me, this self-conscious wreck of an artist, wants to put my content on the internet for people to judge and see and pick apart my how my voice has changed from week to week? You want me to do that? And then I said yes a year later. So, here I am, last jokes on me. But it in some ways felt like it was kind of inevitable. Like at some point we were gonna do it. Like the storytelling quality from my players and our enjoyment of each other in this game has been pretty high from the beginning. I never expected it, nor did I ever really want it. It just kind of happened, and we were like, do we want to give people like a space to escape from their world? Because this game gives that for us. Like, is that something that we want to give to people? If that, with however much cost to us, and we kind of weighed the costs and we said, yeah, as long as we stay friends, as long as we still have fun in this game, if we can provide that for people, especially in this really hard time, we would love to. And so that's been my vision going forward, is that the only reason I'm doing this is, no one can watch, one person could watch, 100 people could watch, whatever. But if we're giving you, like, the people who are watching our game a time to enjoy themselves and watch us have fun and to have a little bit more hope, then I'll be pretty satisfied, whether or not I tell a good story.
That's awesome. And I mean, with the inherent, like, small changes that come with knowing that people are watching, knowing that you're on camera.
More than slight, but more than slight.
More than slight, but also I think that I was going to say, I mean, to me at least, from the stories that you would tell me before, and from actually playing in a session previously as a small guest character, it really doesn't feel like things have changed that much. No. And the heart of you as a group, the heart of, I think, the trajectory and the sort of camaraderie of the storytelling that goes on during these games has not changed. So I think that you've absolutely kicked it out of the park there.
Oh, thanks,
which
dude.
is not a saying.
That's not baseball, but like,
nope.
You're
it's okay.
Ball.
I didn't grow up doing sports.
Yeah, sports ball.
We can blame it on that.
Who's on first, right?
I don't know who's on first.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Never mind.
I was trying to go along, but it's okay. It's okay. Cut it.
Someone, editor, please.
Editor, just take that out.
Can we get the director of photography? Can I get makeup and hair, please? Makeup and hair. Last looks.
Well, I mean, is there anything that you really want to talk about? I mean, I'm not seeing anybody in chat. Do you all have any questions that you really want to ask Daniel, that you want to ask me?
Jared,
it could be
Jared,
it could be life.
How do you
it could be D&D.
Stay so beautiful? What skincare do you use?
Wow, it's not really so much skincare as it is I'm just hoping that everyone else is really blind. I have a really poor quality camera, so
that makes sense.
It doesn't really pick up everything.
So it obscures a lot of stuff. That makes sense.
As long as I get a free snow cone at the end of the game.
Lol. Mason did have a question earlier, I think.
Okay.
I think he said, which of my characters am I really excited to kill? The answer is all of them, Mason. All of them. Tune in tomorrow to watch me do it. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. PDT.
That's gonna be incredible. Oh my god, he's insane. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anything that you, Daniel, that you yourself want to talk about?
I want to talk about, dude. Man, we talked about a lot, bro.
We did. I mean, I'm really happy with how this turned out.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you. It was really easy. Just all we had to do was just sit here and talk.
We're just hanging, man. Yeah, absolutely feels Tarask, man. We need to make that a saying. Can we? That's so good. Instead of feels bad, like if the players are ever gonna die, can people just spam feels Tarask?
We should make an emote.
I would love feels Tarask, man. Dude, I don't know if there's anything that I have to add. I don't know. Other than the fact that I'm like, okay, there is one thing that I want to add, and it's that, like, I'm amazed by the fact that that you guys are so supportive of us. Like, just thank you.
Yeah, you hit affiliate in what, a little more than a month and a half?
Yeah,
almost 2 months.
Yeah, a month and a half.
I mean, that's crazy. That's incredible that you are already here.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you at the beginning of this that you were like, we're gonna have like 3 people, and I'm like, nah, dude. You got something good. You're gonna pick up.
I appreciate
absolutely
that. I mean,
you know what I mean,
dude. Yeah, that was never the goal, but it's cool that it's. Anyways,
no, and I think that's why people have responded the way they did, is because they can tell it's just genuinely a group of friends that are playing for fun, whether or not anyone is watching,
or whether or not it's any good.
Y'all are just having fun and being yourselves, and that's what I respond to when I watch content, when I want to consume content on the internet. I respond to authentic people, and I respond to genuine things that are happening, and that is exactly what you have here: a very authentic, genuine connection between a group of people that enjoy each other's company, that are doing something really special.
I appreciate it, dude. That's very sweet of you.
It's very true.
In my mind, I'm just moving around plastic pieces in my mind and saying you smack each other really hard. Yeah, no, it's awesome. So yeah, to everyone, I guess this is the announcement stream that we did just hit affiliate, which is an insane milestone. And obviously would not be possible with any of you who have been watching and supporting. So like, we are so grateful that you guys care and love these characters and want to see more of it. We're so happy to have you. Thank you. I have a last question, which says that, do I get paid to DM? Yes, they make a blood sacrifice every day. They slay a lamb before I DM.
What kind of lamb?
And that's how I get my DM powers. It is a unblemished white lamb.
Okay.
Sourced from the fields of Israel. And that's
is that something they have to find themselves, or can they get that?
Yes, they do. They do have to figure out the dynamics of that. The shipping costs were pretty rough with the Suez Canal this past week, but things have opened up and they're okay now.
I see. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
That's great. I have a backlog of about 500 lambs that we're going to kill before tomorrow.
Wow, 500. That's a big number.
It's like small pittance, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
So, before we go,
yeah.
I do want to say, if you could give the most spoilery free little elevator pitch for anything, have a hint to come. Any crumbs.
Okay, yeah.
Just to see, just to get people ready for what might be coming.
Sure.
In the coming sessions.
How much am I allowed to say? Am I allowed to?
Well, I'll leave that all up to you, my friend. How much you as the DM
how much am I allowed to spill the beans on? What I will say is we will almost always be doing our show 10 a.m. PDT on Saturdays for you guys, with a couple of weeks on and off. Sometimes we have real life that comes and gets us, and we will definitely be doing that tomorrow. So we'll see you all there.
Which, by the way, y'all, if you are watching on my stream, go ahead and click on that link just above in the chat on Stop, Drop, and Roll D&D, twitch.tv/stop, drop, and roll D&D.
Stop, and drop and roll. All right.
And then,
speaking of, I should shout out you.
Please follow social media. There is a Twitter now. There is an Instagram that is pretty active.
Yeah.
There is a YouTube channel where all the VODs get posted. If you do want to catch up, if you want to like skip through some VODs before tomorrow's stream or before next week's stream, I would definitely recommend it. There's some great storytelling stuff in there.
Yeah, all of the full VODs are on YouTube, by the way. So if you guys have been like, oh my god, I haven't had time, or you're like, I don't know
and they
where
will
to start.
always be posted 24 hours after the initial stream, so y'all can always catch up immediately the next day.
The next
you missed
day.
out.
It's amazing.
So that's a great way to do it. But the Instagram and the Twitter are pretty, or the Instagram more so is more active. But
yeah,
that's where a lot of announcements will come from.
A lot of announcements there. We will also be doing announcements for our streams on Twitter too, just like kind of like when we're going live and stuff.
Awesome.
But the last thing, a little taster for you guys of what's coming up. On the 23rd, we're gonna have as many of the cast members here as possible to do a continuation of Stop, Talk, and Roll, which should be really fun. Jared will still be hosting, and you guys will be able to hear from each of the cast members and their perspectives. So if you guys have any unique questions for them and their characters, that's the time to do it. And then we also have a one-shot in the works, DM'd by one of our players. I won't say who, but that should be coming up probably in the month of late May or June. And so we'll be able to see a one-shot being done by another person, DM'd other than myself.
That's exciting.
And I will be a player in that, I believe. So that'll be some really fun alternate content. We'll be switching up. We'll be taking a break from the Grim Troop and airing that for about a month or like maybe 3 weeks, and then we'll come back to the troop. So that should be really fun, and I'm excited for you guys to see it all.
That is definitely going to be fun. So anyone here, if you're not already following, go do twitch.tv/stop, drop, and roll. Make sure you don't miss another stream. It's incredible. If you love D&D or if you're interested in anything that we talked about today, definitely give them a follow. Check it out. It's incredible. You will not be disappointed.
And right back at the other end, please, everybody who's been like a part of our loyal community, please go and follow and also subscribe to Jared the DM on Twitch. He is amazing. He does a lot of gameplay videos, a lot of commentary, a lot of fun Among Us videos with friends, as well as some like chaotic Minecraft stuff. Be prepared for all of that goodness.
Absolutely
and then, as always, he will be hosting us here as our host for Stop Talk and Roll.
Yes, this is something that we want to do a little bit more of, just this like behind the curtain, so to speak. You know, I really enjoyed today. I'm looking forward to getting as many people as we can in here to do this.
It was rad, dude. It was rad.
But yeah, anything else? A closing message before we go?
Gosh. I don't know. Love each other, you know?
Yeah.
Be kind to ech other out there. It's a rough world.
You can't see it, but I mean, acknowledging, you know, standing on the shoulders of giants, Brian W. Foster with "Don't forget to love each other." You know, I have that up on my wall. It's just out of frame.
We love it to hear it.
Constant reminder, you know, and that absolutely, don't forget to love each other. This is a world that we find ourselves in is crazy right now. It's uncertain, and bringing kindness into the world is going to be the best thing that you can do in spite of everything. You know, going back a little bit, talking about the good versus evil and the sort of, you know, morality stuff.
Sure.
I talked a little bit about this after I played through The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. That the Zelda series does this really well with hope punk. And what I mean by hope punk is that in spite of their situation seemingly being hopeless, there's no reason for them to remain optimistic. There's no reason for them to keep fighting. Pretty much every character in those series does. Regardless of the situation they find themselves in, they find a way to keep going forward and to keep finding hope in spite of it seeming to be hopeless. And I think that's a fantastic message for right now in the world. There's a lot of us who feel uncertain, and there's a lot of uncertainty in there. So having that hope and spreading that kindness in the world is the most badass and the most punk thing that you could do.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well,
but yeah, thank y'all so much for joining.
Yeah.
I had a blast. Shout out again to Daniel, the dungeon master.
Dude.
This was a very fun way to test things, to see how this
man. Would work. I think it went pretty freaking well.
I think
chat, let us know if we did a good job. I don't know if we did, but you know, maybe something was coherent in there.
Maybe something worked.
Great. Love to hear it. Jared, thanks for being on the show, dude. Thanks for always
Thank you for having me. Thank you for trusting me.
I think this is the opposite, isn't it? Like, thank you for being here because you're the host and I'm the guest.
Absolutely, but I mean, you know, thank you for trusting me with this vehicle of doing this. I had a blast. I really enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to doing some more fun things in this format later on. But yeah, this was Stop Talk and Roll. I'm your host, Jared the DM. I had with me Daniel the DM today, and tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. PDT at twitch.tv/Stop Drop and Roll D&D for some awesome D&D. And don't forget to love each other and have a great weekend, everyone.
We'll see you all then.
And see you very soon. Bye-bye.